Alka Jarvis has 30 years of experience in software engineering, including 19 years in total quality management. Her background encompasses management of large-scale software systems, customer experience, product and process quality assurance, industry standards, corporate knowledge management, and training. Alka, take it away.
Thank you very much, Laura. So welcome, everyone. We are going to be talking about business sustainability going beyond ISO 9004. And the idea came to us, myself and my co-author, because this presentation is based out of a book that is going to be published by American Society of Quality in September 28. The idea came to us when we were looking at what is happening around us in the industry right now and where the industry is going. As you know, ISO 9001 is just the foundational quality principles, and ISO 9004 is how do you go beyond those foundational principles and excel in your business. The way the technology is moving, we have to be very, very careful as to what our businesses are doing, and sustainability is part of being careful. So what is sustainability? It comes from growth. It comes from simplification of processes and procedures. And the reason why processes and procedures are so critical is because now time to market is very, very important. You want to be the first in the market. You want to beat your competitors. And if you dwell too much on your processes, then you may not be able to take the product out in the market in the time. And not only that, we are also looking at lean manufacturing, agile way of development, whereby many of the procedures, traditional procedures and processes are no longer valid in today's economy. The other part of sustainability is quickly adapting to transitions in business environment. And we will talk about this as I go on, because there are so many transitions, so many transformational technologies that have come about in last just few years that you have to be adapting to them. You have to implement the changes and changes in customer requirements and technology. Customers are becoming more savvy now. Gone are the days when we, the vendors used to tell the customers literally what needs to be done in their companies. Now the customers have everything at their fingertips through the technology, through the media, through internet, and many other sources. So sustainability really is a total composition of growth, simplification of processes, procedures, quickly adapting to transitions as far as business environment is concerned, and changes that are required because of customers' needs and technology. The disruptive changes in the business environment must be considered for the failure or success of the company. And many times when I'm presenting, I've heard people bring up saying, well, disruptive changes are for large technological companies. It does not affect smaller mom and dad companies. And that is not true. The reason being the larger companies are using smaller companies as their suppliers. And let me also give you an example. As far as privacy is concerned, as far as security is concerned, it is everybody's business, whether you are small or whether you are large. And we will talk about this as I go on. So that means that any changes that are coming about, even smaller company, which might be a mom and pop company, needs to look at it. So what are disruptive changes? Disruptive changes are the ones that really creates a new market and value network. It disturbs existing market, displacing existing markets. For example, Uber. When Uber came along, none of the taxi companies were ready for this new business disruptive model. And now very few people, even at the airport, I see it all the time, very few people are opting to go by taxis. They'll just call Uber. iPhones is another disruptive technology. iPhone have literally put the traditional cameras on the side and made traditional cameras obsolete. Some of the best pictures that I have seen in recent history are taken or were taken by iPhones. Blockchain is another disruptive technology. Don and Alex Tapscott, authors of Blockchain Revolution, has explained blockchain very well. They've said that blockchain is an incorruptible digital ledger of economic transactions that can be programmed to record not just financial transactions, but virtually everything of value. As far as blockchain technology is concerned, it is like the internet in that it has a built-in robustness. However, blockchain cannot be controlled by any single entity and has no single point of failure. So it is very appealing to many businesses, and blockchain has become now a way of conducting our business. Strategic planning must be done now to sustain your business, and the changes that are needed because of the sustainability of the company must be made now, because this will really point to failure or success of your company. So business model, not many times you hear about business models. And in 9004, it talks about mission and vision and all of this. But we need to also look at business model of our companies. So what is a business model? Business models are usually focused on the type of customers you're going to target and the sales strategies around those type of customers. They also look at plans the company has to generate revenue. Where are they going to sell? How are they going to transform their existing products into new products? If they already have existing market, where are they going to go next to enlarge their business? Business model also looks at approaches to retain customers. Giving quality products is not sufficient. Innovations are a way of life, and even when you're innovating, perfect product, if you wait for perfect product, you'll never be able to take the product in the market. Consumers today are willing to take products and sacrifice some of the quality in order to get the products first. And vendors are also taking the products out, even though they may not be perfect, just to get the market share. Operational strategies to enable sustainability of the business and remain profitable is also part of your business model. And once you have this business model, it does not mean that it is casted in concrete. You may have to change the business model often. Changes in business model may require accommodating more customers. In other words, you might have just targeted for X number of customers, and now you're finding that your products are really reaching worldwide audience, and you may have to change your business model completely. If you have targeted Europe and Americas for your marketing, you may now want to go to Africa and Japan and other places, Middle Eastern countries, for additional marketing of your products. and that is changing of the business model. Enhanced training. Many of the companies are providing training to their customers as to how to use their products. Enhanced training to the customer says, how do you guide them through so that the customers adopting your product is quicker and it just doesn't sit in customer side for a very long time. What we have seen in the industry is that if the product is too cumbersome to adopt, any version, any product will sit on the shelf in a company for a very long time, thereby eliminating any possibility of that company buying the second version or a new product from the vendor. Selling in international market also requires a new model, because if you're now going to sell in the international model, you have to not only look at the industry requirements of international market, but also regulatory requirements of a specific country, and your business model will have to be altered. You may want to add additional consulting services on top of your training so that the customers do not have to implement their own products, that you would be providing that service and where necessary, and you will charge the customers. Once again, it points to your business model. So business models, once they are there, they should be created with a vision and also with the mindset that it may need to be altered once you've reached certain goals. Customer journey is very, very important. Customer journey talks about the life cycle framework. And we concentrate on satisfaction of the customer as far as products are concerned. We talk about customer experience. However, we do not talk about what is the customer experience life cycle and what is that framework. The framework of the customer experience is when the customer has a need of a product, they start researching it. They think about the product, they start researching it on the internet. When they start researching it in the internet, what they started doing is they look at all the websites. How easy is your website to follow, that the customer would know exactly what message you're trying to give? Let's pretend for a second that the customer has decided to purchase your product. Now, how difficult is that purchasing? Does the customer have to weave through several calls? Do they have to wait for 10 minutes on the phone while one person passes them to another department, and then that department passes them to the supervisor who explains the cost model and everything? Let's pretend for a second that the customer already purchased that. How difficult was it to acquire it? Meaning closing the deal and getting the product. How long did it take you to get the product? And did everything come at the same time, or did it come in several packages that you had really hard time because you had to wait for one package, and then the second package came after 2 days, and the third package came after 4 days? Once you have acquired it, now you said, okay, let me implement this, and let me start using it. Utilization has to be very, very error-free and very smooth. If a customer cannot install it easily based on the user guides and based on online help you have given them, now they're going to reach out to your support. Even in support, how qualified are your support people? And are they really able to answer it, or are they saying, gee, I am sorry, I cannot answer it, but I'm going to escalate it to a second layer? Just imagine if you were a customer, how frustrated you would get. Customer journey is the most important item for sustainability. And the reason being, if you lose the customer right at the research time, you've lost that customer forever. In order to attract more customers, this journey has to be very, very smooth. And all the people, all the processes that you may have, it has to be agile, it has to be fast, it has to be easy. So let's go to now, what are some of the disruptive changes that are taking place? Remember, business environment is constantly changing. Look at the security issues, how much importance we are giving to security issues. Security issues can break or make your company. A lot of importance needs to be given to personal information because of the data stealing and identity thefts. Not only that, you do not want your financial institute's information to be leaked someplace whereby some third party can come in and take your credit card numbers, can take your birth date, can take your passport numbers, and really start using it. Cloud computing is really disruptive. And you may say, well, I don't think smaller companies use cloud computing. Well, smaller companies are all the more better for cloud computing because they don't have the luxury of having huge data centers and huge staff that would support that data centers. It is easier for them to have software as a service and have another company manage all their data. And in that case, they have to just log on. They have no idea where the data resides, but whenever they need their data, whenever they need their reports, it will be accessible to them. Artificial intelligence is another thing. Just today in the news, there was an announcement that Amazon is working on having robots next year that you may be able to use in your house. If that news is correct, you know what an impact it's going to have on our daily lives. And if we really look at factories have been using robots for a very long time, but now artificial intelligence is being used in companies for day-to-day work to process many of the manufacturing orders and also to help customers. Artificial intelligence, remember folks, your future coworker will be a robot. In recent survey by Ernst & Young, 57% of the executives thought that lack of talent in their companies would be the biggest barrier to success. And what they really meant is the talent really does not understand artificial intelligence, does not know how to write these algorithms to expedite many of the jobs within a company. The requirement, this particular requirement of artificial intelligence, how do you write those algorithms and how do you use it, is actually prompting executives to really increase their training in artificial intelligence by 40%. Big data is another giant animal, and since last number of years we've been talking about big data. Big data is collecting data from different avenues and analyzing it and making sure that you're using this data to update many of your processes. Let me give you a perfect example of big data. If you are Federal Express, you may collect the data from Department of Motor Vehicle. You might also collect the data from Department of Highway, from Police Department, because there might be some accidents, from local media where individual drivers who are driving will report those accidents. And then Federal Express can take all that data simultaneously, analyze it, and reroute their Federal Express trucks based on road condition, based on weather, based on traffic jams, and based on accidents, thereby increasing the driver efficiency and also making sure that the packages are delivered in time at your customer site. This increases productivity, lessens frustration as far as customers are concerned who are waiting for their packages, and if they are delayed by road conditions, you know that they're not going to be very happy with you. Big data, once again, is not just for larger companies. Smaller companies also, whatever service they are providing, they can collect data from different entities, analyze, and see how they can make their services efficient. This must be done now, and this must be done to sustain your business. Digitization. We are doing very many things in a company manual way. Manual way was good once upon a time. It is traditional. It is proven. However, it takes longer time. Not only that, it's not consistent because if people are doing work, people are error prone, and chances are there might be some errors introduced at some point. If you really evaluate every process, starting from taking the orders to customer support, to how the customers are getting their information about your products, to your metrics and measurement, digitization is the best way to do it because you'll get constant results. A lot of emphasis is given right now on digitization. Social media, we all know about Facebook, we all know about Twitter, we know of many of other social media tools, gadgets that are out over their systems. And we also know that word of mouth can travel very, very fast because of social media. Look at what has happened as far as political conditions are concerned. How fast the news travels from one country to another if there are any political events through social media. Social media is very powerful. And the last disruptive change is IoT, Internet of Things. We may have 20 million things, gadgets, connected by the year 2020. As far times are here to wake up and become smart, and the Internet of Things connects everything, whereby they are able to communicate with each other and have sense of monitoring. Just imagine if you are driving home and you're running late. You know that there is dinner to be put on the table, and you know there are two kids waiting for it. With Internet of Things, if your car and the gadgets in your car are connected, you will be able to turn on the oven in your house while on the road. So by the time you come up, that 5 or 7 minutes of heating the oven will be reduced, and all you have to do is to take something from the freezer and stick it in the oven. The same thing with the dishwasher. If you had number of guests last night and you're going to work and you say, gee, I forgot to turn on the dishwasher. Wouldn't it be wonderful if you can turn on the dishwasher from your car? And that's what Internet of Things are. You are able to do it if all the things are connected. So these are some of the disruptive changes. How do we have processes for this? What are some of the considerations you need to give to these disruptive changes? And you also need to take time to implement, time to adapt very fast, because if the processes are too stringent, it will not work in today's economy. We talked about data, and data is a huge asset for a company. 9004 needs to address data security and privacy. We talked about security, we talked about privacy. Data quality and reliability. How reliable is your data that you are collecting? Because you are making decisions based on this data. And it is amazing. The fastest profession right now in the industry is data analyst. I teach in all the 3 local universities in the Bay Area. UC Santa Cruz Extension, UC Berkeley Extension, as well as MBA program of Santa Clara. And I've been teaching in all of these universities for past 23 plus years. Data analyst classes are drawing hundreds and thousands of people each month. That is because companies realize that having data is wonderful, but you need somebody to come up with data models that will predict what is happening, but that will also predict what needs to happen. Data synchronization. Importance of data collection has been in the market for a very long time. But data modeling for the past, for the present, and for the future, so that you can make constructive decisions, how to change your workforce, how to train the workforce, how to introduce any new procedures and processes. It all depends on the data. Data communication is another item that is critical. And the reason being, not everybody in your company needs to be communicated what the data is all about, because not everybody would be interested. Not only that, if the data is related to customers, for security reasons, you do not want every person in your company to have that data. You want a select group based on the job that they are performing, based on their technical knowledge, and based on their credibility. These are the select people that are going to be looking at the data, that are going to be reviewing the data, analyzing the data, and figuring out how to develop the data models. Data trending is based on the past, the present, and you continue this trending. You cannot make really constructive decisions based on the data that you collected just for 1 month, because that data could be influenced by some economic transition, some horrible problem that you were having in hardware, or some disgruntled customer writing to you about how unhappy he or she is and giving you 0 out of 5 as far as customer satisfaction is concerned 3 days in a row. Trending has to be planned, how long you're going to collect the data, how often you're going to trend, how often you're going to make decisions based on that data. You cannot be making decisions every week. It has to be solid data. Without data, you're just another person with opinion. That's what Deming said. And that is so true. But even with data, if you're not really taking into consideration all these 5 components that are there, then that data and your decisions are useless. That brings me to telemetry. And you know, what is telemetry? Up until now, we were relying so heavily on customer satisfaction, customer surveys. We also relied on one-on-one interviews with customers to gather information. We relied on user groups to collect information. And remember, all of this happens after the fact. You do have, many companies have just-in-time satisfaction surveys. But the response rate is no more than 12 to 13%. That's the average industry rate of response on a survey. So what about the remaining, literally, in round figure, 80% of the people who may be very unhappy or very happy with your products? That is the reason why telemetry is the most important way of collecting customer information. So what is telemetry? Any hardware you have, there is embedded software. Many of the hardware pieces have embedded software. This software has a way of collecting the data that is then sent to the company that actually manufactured the hardware. And if it is a networking company, for example, if the network fails, immediately the telemetry data is collected, it goes to a controller, it then goes to a special group of people who would clean up the data and analyze it to see why the network failed. This can be in real time, and it gives the company an ability to call the customer back right away saying, we know you experienced a network failure. We're working on a patch. We will send it to you as soon as possible. Just imagine the delight of the customer because they did not even have a chance to pick up the phone and call you and let you know that there was a problem there with your product. This is what we call leading indicators of your product functionality at your customer. The other example I can give you is if your customer is using just one function or 5 or 6 functions of your product continuously, the data is being collected and it will be sent to you. When you aggregate all the information from many of your customers and you find out that 90% of your customers are using only 5 or 6 of the same components, same functionalities that you have provided them, it enables you to do many process improvements. For example, you are now motivated to really have more enhancements to those 5 or 6 most used functions. We are now going to put additional resources for testing new functionalities for those 5 or 6 functionalities that are most commonly used. We are going to have detailed test plans. You're going to have detailed test scripts. And you may hire additional resources to make sure that those commonly used functions are very, very robust. So there are multiple reasons why you want to collect telemetry data. There is a caveat here though. This is customer information. And what that really means is that you have to get an okay from your customer to collect this data, to analyze it, and to help them. If you're a financial institution, many of the customers, like the banks or investment bankers, like UBS, Merrill Lynch, they do not want their financial information of their clients to be in hands of a vendor. And they may opt out. So you may not be able to collect the telemetry. The way to sell telemetry to a customer is to really identify the benefits the customer is going to get. And you need to confirm to the customer as to what your procedures are that will prevent their data from going any place other than within the company and only for the use of customer benefit. If the customer has some features and those features in hardware or software are not working, you would know right away. Even in service industries such as medical industry, telemetry really captures everything that a doctor is doing with a patient. And it is the way to collect instant information. Is much better than traditional surveys. And not only that, in traditional surveys, because the customer tries to fill a satisfaction survey, maybe after 2 months or 2 days, they've forgotten some of the things. And you might say, well, if you have just-in-time survey, the customer is still fresh in their mind. Look at our court system. How many people, witnesses, are interviewed for an accident? Why? The reason being, even though these people have seen the accident, many times the way people see things, they will see it very differently. One person would say it was driver one's fault, the other one would say it is driver two's fault, even if you ask just 10 minutes after the accident. So to have reliable data, something like telemetry is the best way for customer listening, because you're going to be able to really help them with instant fixes. So now I'm going to discuss about what are the issues at hand that we need to consider. How can we really sustain and make sure that we are addressing everything for our business that would be relevant? The first one is customized service level agreements. We now see in the industry that the traditional way of coming up with one contract and just changing the name each time a new customer comes in is not going to work. Every customer has their own specific needs. especially if it is cloud related services that you are providing. Because the availability, the reliability, and many of the features and requirements of customers are embedded in service level agreements. We will have to learn how to create customized service level agreements to meet customer requirements. Because the requirements are changing so fast. We will have to have partnerships with customers so that they will feel comfortable to call you once the service level agreement is designed and tell you how their business is changing. And you may have to go back and change the service level agreements. Partnership with customers also says that the traditional way of testing by yourself with 10, 20 people, whether it's hardware, service, or software, may not work. Involve your customers, have partnership with your major customers so that you can get instant feedback in the pilots that you might have prepared. Even in service industry, I have seen restaurants now having an opening day pilot to make sure that the orders are taken in time from the customers, the cooks can prepare the dishes in time. This concept actually helps build your customer relationship, your client relationships, and will be a major contributor to the sustainability of the business. Agile life cycle. Mission, vision, activities, everything is wonderful. The mission may not change. The vision needs to change because of the customer demands, the industry changing, the global environment, the political environment. An agile life cycle says that you cannot really hone on to the traditional processes and procedures and audit them over and over again and make sure that they're happening. Because what is agile? Agile says do the processes, bare minimum processes correctly, right, and take the product as soon as you can to the market so that the revenue will start coming in. You will get early feedback from the customers. You're going to fine tune your products, and you will be continually adding more features and marketing. And that's what it's all about. Why do you think that now the companies are providing platforms as a service, infrastructure as a service, software as a service? The reason being that up until now, somebody would buy something, a service, for example, and that could be a service for coming over and cleaning your house. But now that model is changed because you can sign a contract just for 3 months or 3 weeks and continuously pay for additional 3 weeks or 4 months. In the meantime, the vendor who is providing you the service can update the service, will be getting the money every 3 months rather than a year, can include some new features, and can charge you more. This is all agile life cycles. Workforce transitions. I have seen several surveys conducted where CEOs are saying that the thing that is keeping them awake at night is how do they transition their workforce into this agile mindset of learning fast and implementing. Gone are the days when you were really training your people forever. Now the training cycle is barely 1 week or 2 weeks, depending on the type of work you're doing. But you have to transition your workforce very fast. Otherwise, you're really going to lose out in this disruptive technologies. Mergers and acquisition is another large issue at hand. Let's look at the details of mergers and acquisitions. Mergers and acquisitions now are happening for a number of reasons. The company may be just simply looking for growth, and they will acquire companies because they don't want to start out from scratch in that particular region of the world. Companies might buy out or acquire another company to eliminate competition. If there are other companies who have really the skills needed, then a company might buy out that company that has that skill set. We've seen mergers and acquisitions happen to create diversified portfolio of products. If company has just one type of products and they want to branch out into several other different products, they might go out and purchase another company that have a completely different line of products. And mergers and acquisitions are also happening to fill specific gaps in customer list. If there are certain types of customers that are not in their portfolio, and if they are really looking for these customers, they are going to branch out. So what that really means is any quality management industry standard should, especially if it is sustainability, should talk about mergers and acquisitions and what is it that needs to happen and why. Growth is very, very critical. And why is growth critical? Because it measures several things. Growth of your company measures your market share. It measures your profits. It measures your sales. Just making the customers happy and innovating things does not necessarily mean that you're growing unless you have profits to show for and unless you have sales to show for and you have a large market share because of this new innovative products. How many times we have seen innovations come out and die very soon? This happens all the time. So focus on innovation is necessary, but growth should be the number one target. Growth is what makes you remain attractive to your investors. It helps you investigate and increase your market share by diversification. You need to finance your business growth strategy. You know, in today's date, we're all very tight of budget. But how does your company grow? What is the strategy? You need to finance those thoughts, those strategies. Have more people, have qualified people, allow them time, give them right tools, give them right liberty to fail or succeed. You have to constantly make changes to improve your business performance financially. And lastly, employees must be considered. To retain current employees, their salaries must be adequate. There has to be training dollars assigned. And opportunity must be given to the employees to grow. I've seen many companies where they have shadowing of the employees, where they transfer one employee to another and exchange of duties so the employees will grow. You necessarily don't have to spend a lot of money sending the people out in the training. And talking about training, how many times you've seen companies send their people to 3-4 days conferences in Europe, in Africa, in you name it. When the employees come back from that 3-4 days of conferences, they'll say, oh, the speakers were great. The conference was wonderful. I was able to collaborate with all the industry people. But when you really look at it, after 2 months, what was it that the employee who went to this training came back with? And what was it that was implemented in your company? What that means is that the 4 or 5 days of training was totally vested because there was nothing done about that training after the first initial hours of glory where the conference was glorified. Nothing was implemented in your company. So what good did that training do? To attract new employees constantly and encourage employees to innovate. Risk must be taken. Innovation doesn't always work. That must be kept in your mind. And all of this, as far as employees are concerned, all of this points to the leadership. What kind of leadership do you have? Servant leadership is touted in the industry now. What is servant leadership? It is a leadership that really shares rather than enforces their power because they are believing that their employees are an asset and they put these employees first. Traditional leadership involved exercising of power by the leader. I will say something as a leader and you will follow. Good ideas necessarily these days do not come from the leadership. It is by empowering the individuals that are working for you. When you look at brainstorming, the brainstorming ideas, where are they coming from? From the employees. The servant leadership focuses on growth and well-being of people. They allow people to branch out. They allow people to communicate. They give credit to the right people. And look at what Richard Branson has said. Richard Branson is a very successful businessman. He said, clients do not come first. Your customers do not come first. It is your employees who comes first. Time and time again, you may have heard, happy employees are the ones who are productive, they're loyal to the company, they go above and beyond their call of duty to make sure that the customers are satisfied. If you take care of your employees, they will automatically take care of your clients. Very powerful concept of servant leadership. So lastly, you have to unlearn the traditional ways of burdening your employees with strict leadership concept, with strict process concept, with internal auditing concept, because those are the things that are not going to be constructive as far as increasing growth, increasing productivity. Absolutely, you do need processes, but they have to be agile. And agile ideas will be the one that will be continually rewarding journey for business sustainability. With that, I'm hoping that you were able to get some additional ideas above and beyond 9004. This particular course is eligible for 1 unit of CPD. Please visit this session's page on the IAS site to order a certificate of attendance. And once again, I want to remind the audience that the entire lecture was based on the Business Sustainability book to be published by American Society of Quality around September 2018. Thank you.
Thanks, Alka. This ends today's presentation. Thanks for listening.